Normally, players are given a sound to start, or you can incorporate part of your cadence. We like to see a hand and a foot move simultaneously. There shouldn't be a noticeable break in the rhythm of the feet when driving the sled. Rooster blocks or galloping feet are not what we're after. A player shouldn't take 2 steps, drive the sled, take 2 steps, and drive the sled. The feet should keep moving in one continuous rhythm. You shouldn't see a player have to move their feet in an effort to control the direction of the sled. The feet should be close to shoulder width apart, and the toes and heels should be level. It's not of great concern, but we don't like to see extreme toe in or out. Often this is due to the skeletal makeup of the player and can't be corrected. What we're concerned with is the head up, the forearm striking, the movement of the feet, the hips exploding through the pad, and the free arm pumping for balance. This is the fundamental way of developing blocking skills. In professional football, the use of the hands in regards to blocking have increased greatly. What's legal in pros would probably be considered holding in high school. In either case, what we're demonstrating here is the fundamental way that good blocking is accomplished and performed consistently at any level of play.
When I was a college player, we all played 2 ways. Had to play offense and defense, and I was an offensive guard and a defensive lineman. We used the Crowther just as I am going to have it demonstrated by my offensive players. And the coach said, the only difference is you will wrap your arms around rather than striking with the forearm when you are a defensive player tackling someone. We are emphasizing low center of gravity, explosion of the hips, striking with the forearm, moving the feet, keeping the head up, the butt lower than the shoulders, the back straight, the knees bent, taking short driving steps. All of these things you do whether you're tackling or blocking. And again, I'm going to be redundant, but I don't know a better way to teach it than using the Crowther sled.
Incorrect techniques. Let's take a close look at incorrect blocking techniques. Our first example demonstrates winding up. A lot of players feel they can generate a great deal of power by winding the arm up, and this is generally true. But to perform the wind-up, the player has to contort their body by throwing their arm backwards. We try to show players how quick they can strike their opponent by bringing the arm from the ground or resting position on the upper leg. While a player is winding up, a good defender will be striking them in the face with their forearm or hand. 2 common faults are to block the sled either too low or too high. First, let's take a look at too low. This demonstrates blocking with the head down. Head down means tail up, and that's not good form. Sometimes the head and shoulders are both down, as this example demonstrates, and that's also incorrect. We want the shoulders slightly higher than the hips. For example, if a cup of water were poured on the player's back, it should run backwards down their backside and not spill over their shoulders. Probably the most common fault is for players to strike the sled without a knee bend and stand up, thus blocking the sled too high. Standing up translates to blocking the sled with the chest or belly as opposed to the shoulder. Players should try to block through the sled pad and into the chassis strut. With proper form, as in this example, the spring should be on a mighty bend. This is an example of another common mistake. The player isn't blocking the sled directly down the chassis strut, perpendicular to it. Players tend to align themselves too far inside of the pad. A good rule of thumb is that the player's outside eye should see the pan bolt that joins the chassis brace to the pan base. On all Crowther drills, the player's shoulder should be parallel with the top of the sled pad. And importantly, the player should block the pad perpendicular to the chassis strut. There is a tendency for players to block the sled perpendicular to the center plate or pan base. This is incorrect. Additional drills